Hello everyone, sorry I did hustle here. I'm in the middle of our engineer promotional test, which is a 2-week process, 4 different days of written test, pump calculation test, driving test, which I just did, an aerial test, which is putting our ladder truck up, and then also a pump test where you actually have to pump different lines. And it's a pretty, it's a pretty intense process, but I've made it through 2 of the 4, so far so good. My name is Kate Williams. I instruct our EMT class here. I also teach CPR at CCC as a BLS instructor. I work for the Flagstaff Fire Department. I'm in my 10th year working for Flag Fire. I am currently a firefighter paramedic, which is a dual role that we play on all of our trucks. So we're all rescue, meaning that no matter what the tones go off for, I'm putting on whatever hat that is the public needs me. So I'm either my firefighter hat or my paramedic hat. I myself was a student at CCC for not just my Fire 1 and 2 and my hazmat, but also for EMS, EMT, and then eventually I became a paramedic. This is not where I'm supposed to be per my parents' plans many years ago. I went to a private high school and a private college, and I came from a time period in the late 90s and early 2000s where that was a success, right? Was going to a 4-year college, getting your 4-year degree, right? That was what everyone pushed. Your job, your life won't look good until you get that. Going to a trade school, going to a community college, taking a gap year, working, even joining the military, not as an officer. Those are not things in my community or at the time that was stressed that would be beneficial to anyone. So how did I end up here doing this, which is the exact opposite? Just for reference, my 4-year degree was an English major and art history minor. So how did I end up here? I think my story resonates really well with a lot of the people that come through CCC. I graduated with that degree, and it was sort of a what's next moment for me. That degree didn't really push me in any way. I liked reading and writing, but what's the job for that? I attempted to get into editing and publishing, and I needed a master's degree. And it was like, oh my gosh, again, I already have student debt. I don't know if I want to do this, so I'm going to keep going down this road. So I took time. I moved here, actually. My sister lived here. I was living in Boston before I came here, working for a commercial real estate firm as the administrative assistant. Again, what? And when I moved here, it was sort of a reset. One of the things that my parents especially harped on was civic duty, which was funny because they wanted me not to go down any other path other than into the corporate world. And at the time when I moved here, the woman that I was working for at a coffee shop, again, how did I end up here? Said, my husband is the superintendent of the Flagstaff Hot Shots, which is the person in charge of that hot shot crew. I didn't know I'm an East Coaster, I had no idea what wildland fire was. And she said, I think you really would like this. And I said, why do you think that? She goes, well, you're a hard worker, you are really into team dynamics, and I think you seem sort of bored. And I go, okay. So I ended up on the hot shot crew, and since I'm an instructor, I'm going to ask people this. What hot shot crews are sort of a more elite fighting force. I sort of jumped into the deep end in wildland fire. Does anybody here know what percentage of hot shot crews in the country, tens of thousands of firefighters, is female? It's higher than that. It's about 11 to 15% depending on the year. And so it was my first time being the only or the other. And if you've never experienced that feeling, it doesn't necessarily make you feel ostracized, but you are very aware of that emotion of being the only something or the first something. And luckily, I would say 90% of the crew treated me like, can you do the job? Great, you're great. My foreman at the time, who I'm still friends with, paid me a compliment at the time that I thought was great, but now when I think about it, times have changed a little bit. He said, sometimes having a female on the crew is kind of like having a vegetarian. You just gotta kind of, it's kind of like you gotta consider him a little more. And he goes, but it doesn't feel like that with you. And he meant that as the best compliment, right? And at the time, I took that as the best compliment. I can do the job. They were calling me Keith instead of Kate because it felt weird to say a girl's name. Like, all this stuff was sort of this, sort of male culture, sort of funny, tongue-in-cheek stuff. And I was really proud of that. But thinking back on that now, there's a little something about that doesn't sit 100% right with me now as the 44-year-old female that I am now, and the length of time I've done this. So I got done with that, made some babies, took some years off, stayed home with my boys, and then I thought, this is not for me. I want to go back to work. Again, I wanted a job that gave me a sense of purpose, that had real team dynamics, and served my community. And wildland fire, although hot shotting is probably the most fun job I've ever had, and I loved it, doesn't really work well with parenting. You're gone a lot. And so I had a couple friends, male and female, on the Flagstaff Fire Department that said, you should look into this. So I did. And everything about it appealed to me. I liked the medical part of it. I love firefighting, so firefighting appealed to me. And I had really great role models and people that were encouraging me along the way, which something I say to my class all the time is make a connection within the community that you want to work in, find out what the job is, right? We have this misconception of the job. I think if anyone's watched Chicago Fire or all the 911 shows, they think it's that, and it's more like Tacoma FD in a lot of ways. And the challenges of the job are a lot different than what they're portrayed by Hollywood, right? So finding out if you're in trades, get a leg in with somebody who knows the business, and then find out, is this for me? Does it line up with my values? Does it line up with what I'm capable of? Can I bring anything to the table? And since I had those years of wildland fire, I felt pretty good about firefighting. Big question mark about medical, because I had never done that. So I came to CCC. And again, I was encouraged by instructors that I met here. I saw people that were like me from my background doing the job, and that was a big encouragement to me. Does anybody know, in fire, for structure fire, which is what I do now, we're going to ask this percentage question again. For professional firefighters, what's the female percentage? 5% for professional, 11 if you include volunteer. For chiefs of a fire department, anybody above an administrative level, it goes down to, depending on the year again, 3 to 5%. When I got in the fire department, my first chief, battalion chief, was a female, and she was amazing. So again, I had somebody that made me feel like I can do this when I looked at it. I also had, and I'm not saying you just need females as a female. I had incredible mentors, supporters. My first probationary captain was fantastic. He was a great supporter. But again, you're kind of different, right? And there's a public perception too about whether or not you can do the job. And when you work with the people, as long as someone can do the job, right? You don't care. I don't care. As long as somebody can save me, save somebody else, do the job, be competent in their job, I'm fine with it. But there's more than that we're facing. And so a lot of my EMT students come in and they're a little bit nervous about, the girls especially, are about raising their hand when I ask, what are you doing this for? To say they want to do fire. Because they feel like, I don't think I can. And so I think a lot of them come from backgrounds that aren't, we like construction workers, man and fire, we love them. they can do pretty much anything we need them to do, right? A lot of these women aren't coming from that background. A lot of the guys aren't coming from that background. They really don't know what it's going to entail to get the job. So I think that when I talk to them about how I got here, like I said, that's a big thing for them, is seeing that somebody a lot like them is doing the thing that they want to do. All right, last percentage. So I'm a paramedic, which is a year-long program. It's called Advanced Life Support because We do a lot more than your basic EMT. EMS has a 35% female rate. So 35% of everybody in EMS is female. When you move up that next step to paramedic, does anybody know that percentage?
20.
15%. So there's something that's keeping them from wanting to do this, right? And I think that one of the things that we like is representation, but it's also coming in and able to do hands-on stuff here in class, meeting people that are already in these programs that have succeeded. And we tailor our programs here to what they're going to find out in the field. And I can just speak for me and EMS, but I know most of our CTE programs are like that. We want to tailor what it is that you'll be approached with the field, all the problems, right? Yes, I have to be physically fit. Yes, I have to know all my stuff. There's also a mental health component that we talk about in fire and EMS a lot now to prepare people for the job. It's a difficult job, right? So, my point of this is a lot of people that come here don't know where they're going. They only have a kind of an inkling of what they want. And the more that we can share our stories with them, the more we can have partners that are interested in moving somebody from their baseline all the way up to the job is huge. It's huge for our community. It's huge for the businesses in our community. And it's what CCC really is for, is finding a place for people and getting them to go from that young adult age where you're not sure to feeling strongly about and passionate about their career.